We have a problem, Batman. Gotham needs you again.
Lelouch Britannia was born as the 11th Prince of the Holy Britannian Empire, living a privileged life until his mother's assassination and his father's cold dismissal sent him and his disabled sister Nunnally into exile in Japan. When Britannia conquered Japan and renamed it Area 11, Lelouch witnessed firsthand the brutality of his homeland's imperial system, watching innocent people suffer under occupation while his sister lived in constant danger. This personal tragedy transformed a sheltered prince into a revolutionary mastermind who would adopt the masked persona of Zero to lead the Black Knight's rebellion against the empire that cast him out. Lelouch possesses the supernatural power of Geese, granted to him by the mysterious CC, which allows him to give any person a single irresistible command that they must obey completely. His true strength lies not in this mystical ability, but in his genius, level intellect and strategic planning that can turn any disadvantage into victory through pure tactical brilliance. However, the Geese power comes with a terrible cost. It grows stronger and less controllable over time, eventually becoming permanently active in both eyes and threatening to isolate him from every meaningful relationship. His greatest weakness is his emotional attachment to his sister Nunnally, whose safety and happiness motivate every decision he makes, creating predictable behavioral patterns that can be exploited. My approach to Lelouch focuses on exploiting the growing contradiction between his noble goals and increasingly ruthless methods, forcing him to confront the human cost of his revolution. The strategy involves accelerating his Geese progression through emotional stress, while presenting him with evidence that his war is harming innocents like his sister rather than protecting them. By creating situations where his protective instincts conflict with his tactical objectives, I can undermine his resolve and demonstrate that collaboration produces better results than manipulation and control. What do you think, Alfred?
Master Bruce, Lelouch represents perhaps the most tragic case of good intentions corrupted by the very power meant to achieve them. This young man began his revolution not from ambition, but from a brother's desperate love for his disabled sister and genuine desire to create a world where she could be happy and safe. The supernatural Geese power that enables his rebellion simultaneously isolates him from the human connections that motivated his fight in the first place. What makes his situation particularly heartbreaking is watching someone who started with the purest motivations gradually lose pieces of his humanity to achieve them. His methods grow more ruthless even as his goals remain noble, creating an internal conflict that's slowly destroying him from within. Perhaps the most strategic approach isn't opposition but guidance, helping him remember his original motivations while showing him that his current path leads away from the gentler world he seeks to create for Nunnally.
Alfred's insight reveals the key vulnerability in Lelouch's psychology. He's fighting for love, but using methods that destroy his capacity for love. The strategy must exploit this internal contradiction by forcing him to see how his revolution affects people like his sister, creating cognitive dissonance between his protective goals and destructive methods that will eventually break his resolve. What do you think, Robin?
His real problem isn't that he's evil or power-hungry. It's that he's trying to be everyone's savior while using mind control powers that literally disconnect him from other people. The Geas ability forces him to relate to others as tools rather than equals, which is exactly the opposite of what someone fighting for a more compassionate world should be doing. He started this revolution to protect his sister and create a gentler society, but the methods he's using are making him less gentle every day. What he really needs isn't an enemy to fight, but allies who can share the burden and remind him that even revolutionaries need friends who can tell them when they're going too far. His greatest weakness isn't tactical, it's emotional isolation. That makes him forget why he started fighting in the first place.
Robin's assessment about Lelouch's isolation being his greatest weakness shifts the entire approach from opposition to intervention. The strategy becomes less about defeating him and more about reconnecting him with his humanity before his power, and isolation transform him into the very type of tyrant he originally fought against. This involves providing him with genuine allies who can challenge his decisions without threatening his mission, creating situations where trust proves more effective than control. When his revolution becomes collaborative rather than solitary, his methods naturally align with his original moral principles. The Zero persona creates a dangerous psychological split, where Lelouch projects all his confidence and moral certainty onto his masked identity, while his true self struggles with doubt and guilt. This dual existence allows him to inspire followers as Zero while hiding the emotional cost of leadership from everyone, including himself. The mask becomes both his greatest strategic asset and the source of his growing disconnection from reality, as he begins to believe his own propaganda about Zero's infallibility. The approach involves creating scenarios that force him to drop the Zero facade and rely on his authentic relationships rather than his revolutionary persona. When he realizes that people value Lelouch more than they follow Zero, his priorities shift toward preserving human connections rather than just achieving tactical objectives. My final assessment acknowledges that Lelouch v. Britannia represents the dangerous potential of genius applied to moral crusades without proper emotional support or ethical guidance. His management requires understanding that he's not an enemy to be defeated, but a misguided ally whose considerable talents need redirecting toward methods that preserve rather than sacrifice his humanity. The contingency serves as both defensive framework against his more dangerous impulses and intervention protocol for helping him remember that the gentler world he seeks for his sister must be built through gentle means. Success means proving that collaboration achieves more than manipulation, that inspiring others works better than commanding them, and that even fallen princes can find redemption when they remember that the crown they seek isn't worth wearing if it costs them everyone they love.